So today's
Okay,
today's today's daf Be'ezus Hashem is daf Lamed Daled. Okay, and I just want to go over a part of the Mishnah. All you need to remember is Reuven and Shimon. Okay,
yeah.
remember this: Reuven and Shimon. Reuven is the Madir. That's called the Madir. Means he says to Shimon, I don't want you ever to benefit from my possessions. And I make a neder. So now Shimon is the mudar. He is prohibited from benefiting from Reuven's possessions. So clear. Reuven is the madir, and Shimon is the mudar, means he is prohibited from benefiting from Reuven's possessions. That's all you got to remember. That's the whole Gemara. So the Mishnah said, if you recall, umachseloi, right over here, the Mishnah in the bottom of Lamed Gimel Lamed Aleph said very simple, umachseloi es ave dosoi. That means that Reuven is allowed to return if Shimon lost an item. Reuven is allowed to return it to Shimon. Now, why? So it makes perfect sense, because it's not like Shimon is benefiting from Reuven. No, he's not. He's just getting back his lost item. So
Giving
back. So Matsaloi as Evedosoi. He's allowed to return the Aveda. Reuven can return the Aveda to Shimon. This is the simple reading of the Mishnah. Now the Mishnah says, but what happens if normally when somebody returns an Aveda, you give him a reward? Okay, I was saying last night that I was a big call on the IRS today because my refund check was somehow, I would guess, stolen by somebody who claims he found it in floating in the wind, and he asked if I can meet him in a homeless shelter to go pick it up and give him a reward. And he was right. He found the check. So the Mishnah is saying, what about the reward? The reward. So the Mishnah says, Mokom shenoitun olo haschar, tipol hanor lahegdish. In a place where the person that lost the item, pashtus, it means the person who lost the item, which in this case is Shimon. If normally he would give a reward to Reuven, right? If normally he would give a reward to Reuven. So the Mishnah says, tipol hanor lahegdish. He should not give he should not pay Reuven a reward. He should actually not keep the money either. He should throw and throw the hana away for money. So let's say you would normally give him $1,000 reward, make a check to the Beis Hamikdash and send it out, and that's it. Now we're going to learn that this is the of course, if Shimon wants to give Reuven the reward, what's wrong with Reuven accepting the reward? Because Reuven is not also on Shimon. Shimon is also on Reuven stuff. The answer is because we're going to learn that the Mishnah is talking about where Reuven said is a rich guy. He said, you don't even have to pay me. Keep it. So now if Shimon would keep the money of the reward that he would have paid Reuven, so he's benefiting from Reuven, and he made a neder, he'll never benefit from Reuven. He has a neder that he's not going to benefit from Reuven. That's why the Mishnah says he should tipo hanor lahegdish, throw away the money to Hegdish, make the money that you would have given out as a reward and give it to Hegdish. Okay, now we're starting from Lamed Gimel Amud Beis, about 7-8 lines from the bottom. Very simple Gemara. Machseloi Avedase. We learned in the Mishnah you're allowed to return the Aveda. So the Gemara is going to go in reverse order. In what happens if Shimon has to return something to Reuven? So let's see. Pligi bar Rab Ami Rabasi. There was a debate between Rab Ami and Rabasi. Chad Amar one said, we don't know who said it, Lo Shanu was not, our Mishnah is only talking about a case, Ela b'shenichsei machzir asurin al bal haveda. The possessions, we'll call him, of the returner, the guy that is doing the returning, which is Reuven. His possessions are after al bal haveda, on the one who lost the object. So it's Reuven versus Shimon. Reuven's the finder. He's the Machzir. The finder is called Machzir. And his possessions are also on Shimon. And that is what our Mishnah is talking about. So why is Reuven allowed to do a mitzvah of returning the Aveda that Shimon lost? Shimon has a net and he's not going to benefit from Reuven. The answer is because Reuven's just getting his item back. When Reuven returns the item, he's actually returning Shimon's lost item. He's not giving him from his possessions. He's giving him what Shimon lost. So that's not called benefiting from Reuven. But what happens in the reverse case? Avo, can Shimon return Reuven's lost item? Now you could say, you're not going to believe it, but you're going to say, what could be wrong with that? Reuven is not usher on Shimon. And Reuven's not usher. Shimon's possessions are not usher on Reuven. Shimon's possessions are not usher on Reuven. So what happens if Shimon finds something that belongs to Reuven? No matter what, why shouldn't he be able to return the object back to Reuven? And that's the Gemara's point. He would not allow to do it. And now the Gemara is going to explain why not. Let's say the possessions of the lost man is usher on the finder. So if the finder is Shimon and the person that lost the object is Reuven, Shimon cannot return the object to Reuven. Now, Shimon cannot return the object to Reuven. What's Shimon benefiting from Reuven by returning Reuven's lost object? The answer is the Komahanele Pruta de Rav Yosef. A fascinating concept, which is that during the time that Shimon is busy returning the item of that Reuven lost, so the halacha is he's busy doing the mitzvah of Hashavas Aveda. And if during that time that he's doing that mitzvah, what happens if a poor person would come to him that he would be obligated to give him tzedakah? He could tell the poor person, I can't give you the tzedakah because I'm busy doing another mitzvah. And we have a klal, ha'oisik b'mitzvah, partam in a mitzvah. That's it. If you're busy doing one mitzvah, you're not required to do another mitzvah. And therefore, Shimon is benefiting that he would be parter in an instance to give tzedakah at the same time as returning to the item to Reuven. Therefore, if Shimon is benefiting from Reuven, and therefore he's not supposed to return Reuven's lost item because he has a neder. And he's not supposed to benefit from Reuven. And he is benefiting from Reuven because he doesn't have to give tzedakah if he would be Isaac, if he would be busy himself with the mitzvah of Hashavas Aveda. That's a fascinating concept. But the point of Rav Yosef is, in general, I just want to give you the point of Rav Yosef. The point of Rav Yosef is, let's say you find an item, okay? You find an item, so you have to watch it to make sure that it's returned to its rightful owner. What happens if it gets stolen from you? So we have a machlokes in the Gemara. Rabbi says if it gets stolen from you, you're pater. If you find the person that lost the item, he has no claims against you because you are called a shomer chinam. You're a watchman and you're not even get paid. A shomer chinam is pater from Geneva. Rav Yosef held that you're a shomer socher. You are gaining money, and therefore you're responsible if it's stolen. Why? How are you gaining money? Because as long as you're busy with this lost item, you don't have to give tzedakah. So you're saving yourself on tzedakah. It's like as if you didn't show up for the Yom Kippur appeal. So you're saving yourself money. That's why Rav Yosef holds every finder is considered to be a shomer socher. So therefore, if you consider it to be a shomer socher, so back into the Gemara, if Shimon found Reuven's lost item, Shimon cannot return it to Reuven because by derivation, he's going to, as a result, he's going to be benefiting that he's going to save his money from tzedakah, and therefore it'd be usher.
Do we actually hold that way? If he doesn't want to if he doesn't want to accept any money for finding, then he will not go and give his tzedakah anyway. So
right.
Then he's puter.
Yeah, so do we hold of Rabbi Yosef? So it seems that Rabbi Yosef is not the accepted opinion. That we hold that every shomer aveda is a shomer chinam.
Yeah. or so he didn't have it in mind to get paid for it, so just to give him back. As a mitzvah, but dann ist Pute in die Schreiber Suche. Das soll man kennen.
Yes. That's one way to learn it. The Chadama or others say, Afila nichse bal aveda asur al makse mahadale. That Shimon, even though the finder, Shimon the finder, and the one that lost the item is Reuven, Shimon could return the item to Reuven. He's saving money for tzedakah. Mishum pruta d'Rab Yosef lo shchiach. It's not common, and it's not often that some ani is going to come to you while you're busy returning the item to Reuven. So it's not really called saving money, because and therefore you didn't benefit from Reuven. So therefore, Shimon is permitted to return the item to Reuven. Now we go. Right. Now we go to the Gemara, the Mishnah. Tanan, we learned in the Mishnah. Mokom shnoitlin oleh sachar. People are no lehegdish. The Mishnah said that if the finder, instead of giving the reward, what should he do? He should throw the money and write a check to hegdish. So what was our Mishnah talking about? According to the Mandi Amar that says, even in the case where Shimon is returning the item to Reuven, right? You're allowed to do that. Shimon is allowed to Reuven. And because we don't hold of this pruta de Rabbi Yosef, he's not gaining anything. He's not really making money on this. He can return it. So now that means that we're going to say that Ru is supposed to give the reward. Reuven is supposed to give the reward to Shimon. So therefore, Reuven, instead of if Reuven happens to give the reward to Shimon, let's say he does give it anyway, Shimon is not allowed to keep the reward. He's because Shimon is not supposed to benefit from Reuven. So what Shimon should do with the reward is to give tzedakah. If he gets the reward, people hanor lehegdish. He should give it to hegdish. Ela lamali Omar, who said, according to the opinion that said our Mishnah is talking about, can only be talking about one case where Reuven found the item and he's returning it to Shimon. So that's what he says. In the case where the Baal Aveder is also on the finder, in case of Shimon versus finding it, returning to Reuven, you're not supposed to. That is not a case. You're not allowed to return it. So when are you allowed to be Machzor Aveda? If it's the other way around, where Reuven found the item and he's returning it to Shimon. Now, if Reuven finds the item and he's returning it to Shimon, now who's paying the reward? Shimon is paying to Reuven. So why should Reuven throw out the money to Hegdish? He's allowed to benefit from Shimon. Why should Reuven have to give tzedakah from the money that Shimon is paying for him? Why should Reuven have to write the check to Hegdish? He's allowed to benefit from Shimon. Answers the Gemara, it's one situation. Normally, you're right. Reuven could keep the money. But our Mishnah is talking about one scenario where Reuven says to Shimon, listen, you keep the geld. You keep the money. So it comes out Shimon is saving the reward money that he would give away, and he's keeping it. So on that, the Mishnah says, Tipul Hanol Hegdish, that Shimon, he's benefiting from Reuven, he's not allowed to. Therefore, the reward money that he would have given Reuven, he shouldn't keep, but he should write a check to Hegdish. Another version of the Machlokes, and that's it. Others turn it around and say, this was the argument. Pligi bo Rav Ami Ravasi. Rav Ami Ravasi had an argument this way. Sad Omar once said, Lo Shana was only taught that what? That you're allowed to return a lost item, Ella, in the opposite case. The only way, if one has a neder against this other, again, Reuven's possessions are Asur and Shimon, the only way of returning a lost item is only Shimon returning to Reuven. Reuven lost the item, and Shimon is returning to Reuven, and Shimon doesn't benefit from that because Pruta de Rav Yosef Loishchia. Loishanu, our Mishnah is only talking about a situation, B'shenichse Bal Aveda, the one that lost the item, which is Reuven, is Asurin al Machzer, is prohibited against the finder, against Shimon. So Shimon cannot benefit from Reuven. So Shimon, if Reuven lost an item, Shimon can pick it up and return it to Reuven. Certainly, at that moment, you want to say Shimon is benefiting because he doesn't have to give tzedakah, because he was doing Hashavas Aveda, Mishum Pruta de Rav Yosef Lo Yishchia. That's not common. So Shimon can return the item to Reuven. Avo, but in the scenario, Nechse Machzir Asurim al Bal Aveda, the finder's possessions, if Reuven's possessions are also on the one that lost the item, so Reuven found the item that Shimon lost, loy mahader, Reuven cannot return it to him. Now, why shouldn't Reuven return it to him? Why should Reuven return it to him? Shimon's not benefiting brand new from Reuven's possessions. It's Shimon's lost item. The answer is Mishum de Komahanile. At the end of the day, Shimon is benefiting. Because if Reuven does not return him the lost item, maybe nobody would find the lost item. And then Shimon would have to rebuy the item. So in a way, he is benefiting from Reuven. And he has a neder. He's not allowed to benefit from Reuven. So that opinion holds that Reuven cannot return the item to Shimon. Chad Omar, and one learned shot, Afila nichse machzir asurim al bal aveda. Even in that situation, where Reuven's possessions are also on Shimon, mutter, Reuven can return Shimon's lost item because he's not giving him from his possessions. When he's returning to him, he's giving back Shimon your own item. You're not gaining from my possessions. This is what you lost. It's yours. That's what this opinion learned the machlokes. So now, just to remember, our Mishnah said that the person that lost the item, his reward money that he would have given, he should write a check and send it to Hegdish. So now we have to understand we have to understand the way the Gemara learned it this way. So now we learned to the Mishnah. If normally we always pay the guy that found your item, you have to give them a reward. So then, in case you're not giving them the reward, tipo hanola hegdish, you should make a check the hegdish. That's what our Mishnah said. Bishlama, according to the Mandi Amma, that our Mishnah can make sense that because our Mishnah, according to that opinion, can talk about where Reuven found something of Shimon's, and Shimon is supposed to give the reward money to Reuven, and Reuven said, I don't need it. So now Shimon is benefiting from Reuven. So on that, the Mishnah says, Shimon, don't keep the money, write a check to Hegdish. So everything makes sense. The Mishnah makes sense. When the possessions of the finder is usher on the one that lost, where Reuven is usher on Shimon, Mahader, Reuven can return Shimon's lost item because it's really Shimon's item. It's not from Reuven's possession. So it makes sense, the last part of the Mishnah, which says that Shimon, if you're not going to pay the reward, don't keep it for yourself, because then you're benefiting from Reuven, make a check and send it to Hegdish. Ella, but according to the opinion that when Reuven finds something of Shimon's, he cannot return it to Shimon, okay, because he's benefiting Shimon, because now Shimon does not have to buy new items. So then what's our Mishnah only talking about? Where Shimon finds something of Reuven's. So Shimon finds something of Reuven, and Reuven is supposed to give a reward to Shimon. And instead of giving, and Shimon probably told Reuven, keep your reward. So the Mishnah says that Reuven should write his reward money to Hegdish. But the question is, why? Reuven's not usher on Shimon. So why should Reuven send his money to Hegdish? So that part of the Mishnah is not going to make sense. You have to take out this word. When Reuven's item, when the possessions of the finder is is prohibited on the loser. Reuven versus Shimon, loy mahada. Reuven's not allowed to return the item that Shimon lost. The only way an item can be returned is only if it's a reverse. Shimon is returning Reuven's item. And now Reuven is supposed to give a reward to Shimon. And Shimon says, you keep the reward. On this, the Mishnah says Reuven should not keep the reward and write it away, send them reward money to Hegdish. Why? Reuven is permitted to benefit from Shimon. How do you make sense of that last part of the Mishnah called Mokan, that he has to send the reward money to Hegdish? Ashya, this is a good question. So that version is a little difficult to understand of what the machlokes is. Let's go on, new Gemara, and we'll just do 3 lines. We're up to Daf Lamed Dalet Amud Beis. We'll just do 3 lines, and then the next boya is just tomorrow's Daf. That's it. Amar Rava. Rava said, now the question how this comes into our Gemara, it seems like it has no relation to what we're discussing, but it's somehow similar to what we're going to learn tomorrow. So just be that as an independent halacha. Amar Rava. Rava said the following story. Let's say you're walking and you find in front of you a loaf of bread of hefker. So you're walking on the street on Central Avenue, and you find a nice loaf of bread in a plastic bag in your dalet amos and on the floor. Va'amar, and then you said kikar zu hegdish. This bread should be hegdish. Okay, so the Rava said, that's fine. So now, technically, you should pick up the loaf of bread and now send it off to the Beis HaMikdash, or redeem it, or send it off to the Beis HaMikdash. The problem is, Natala, he had like quick amnesia. He forgot what he just said. He took it, brought it to his house, and to eat it. So he took it to his house and with the intention of eating it. So now he's basically transferred the domain of this loaf of bread, which should have been sent to the Beis HaMikdash. He's transferring it to his pantry. So therefore, Ma'al, he violated the desecration of benefiting from Hegdish, Lefi Kula, according to the whole value of the whole thing. And therefore, he's going to have to bring a carbon. He's going to have to do, it's a very serious aveira if you benefit from Hegdish's money. If you benefit from Hegdish's possessions, you have to bring a carbon, and you have to add 25% and of course pay back Hegdish. Now, what happens? One more line. What happened was he saw that bread, and he said it should be hefker. It should be hefker. Now he didn't take the bread with the intention to eat it. He didn't take the bread with the intention to eat it. He said, I'm going to take it home so that my kids should think that his intention was not to acquire it now, but to eventually give it to his kids as an inheritance. So let's say he has a room in his house that he's putting away items for the inheritance of his kids. So he comes home, forgot that he said this is going to be Hegdish, and puts it in that room of the things that he finds, and with the intention of later on acquiring it when he was writing his will. So he temporarily stores it there. When the kids pass that room, they see the room is getting bigger with items that they're going to inherit. So really, he didn't keep it, but he only benefits from it that his kids have goodwill. They think they're getting a big inheritance. So therefore, Mo'al Lefi Toivas Hano'ah Shabbat. He violated this Me'ilah, not what the value of the bread is, but according to the goodwill that the bread displays. That's much less. That when the kids think, oh, we have this bread that we're going to inherit, so they have goodwill. They have good feelings towards their father. So whatever that's worth, that is the desecration money that he owes for Hegdish, and of course he has to bring a carbon. This is what Rava said. Now, how does this come into Masechta Nedarim? We'll see about that tomorrow, Be'ezus Hashem.
Or you said that you cannot stop doing a mitzvah to do another one, but there are circumstances you